We're super excited to have Stephen Malcolm here with us.
Yes.
You know some of his music just because it's awesome music. Also,
Hey.
It's on the Way Now music stream, which you might be familiar with. And so we're going to talk about some of that music today. I know that there's a lot of stories here about this music that come from your life, some really hard stuff, some really redemptive stuff. Like, I'm really excited to hear because I don't know them all.
Yeah.
And then you have more music coming out January 25th, The
Yes.
Second City.
Yes.
And so this is kind of letting people get an inside look at your life leading up to that so they'll know all of the stories and all the cool stuff once your album comes out.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think we're going to start with the song Not To Us. So we're going to, just so you know, we're going to do some listening to the song, not probably the whole thing, but we're going to listen and then Stephen's going to share about the song and about his story. So the first one we've got Not To Us. Do you have any preface or do you want to dive right in?
Man, so basically with this whole album, I wanted to tell my story. I did not want to just write in a general sense. I wanted to write each song on how it applies to my life. So sitting in the studio thinking about God's good love, reading through Psalms, the writer Taylor Hill, we were all reading through Psalms and he literally just pulled through Psalms and we started creating there. It's like, what does God's good love look, not in a general sense, but in Stephen Malcolm's life? And so this is what we came up with.
Ooh, okay. That was like a great music video too.
Yeah.
I love all the dancing.
The music video, actually, so shout out to Cantinas. It's a dance program out in Malibu, California.
Okay.
And yeah, they are a super Christ-centered dance organization. And they were doing, basically helping out a nonprofit organization, Red Eye, right in Watts, California. So that's where it's shot, like middle of Watts, California, for this nonprofit organization that's like an after-school program for kids. So super great cause. Once again, just trying to shine, the light of God. So video just complements the record.
I love that when like you're doing, you wanted to make a music video, but then you make it more and you get to like meet so many incredible people and hopefully, make a difference too. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so this song, it starts with that beautiful like worship song and then, gets into this great dancing and all of that. But there's also some kind of hard stuff in those lyrics too. I went and made sure I read through them to catch it all. So can you talk to me about, what it was like to live through that and how you got to this song? So you said like you were writing about what's real for Stephen, right?
Yeah, and because God has literally took me from like point A to point B. When I gave my life to Christ in 2010, was going through a lot. And like a lot of it was due to just me growing up and becoming like a young man because I was 18, 19 at the time, was still living at home kind of, going to college, working, and then I started going to church. And so like I'm a cat that like came from the bottom. You know what I mean? Like I talked about it in the song, like winter days we had no heat, sleeping in my mom's house in my jacket. Like that's a real thing. Like where I come from, like, yo, we only have enough money for this bill. And so we got to sacrifice something. And for us living in Michigan, it was like the heat one time. So we had to sleep in, my jacket. And so just, to see like where God took me where I am now. And it's only because of his good love and me just trusting him. So
that's a huge message.
Yeah.
Like that's not an easy message to get when you're living through it. So the fact that you're able to share that is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it all just reversed, back to like, no matter how successful I become or where God takes me, at the end of the day, the glory is not to myself. It's not to us, but to his name. So, yeah.
I love it. Okay, there was also a line in there, something about breakdancing in Jerusalem. Is that a true story?
Yes.
Okay.
Listen. Okay, so
I was like, is that just poetic or did he really do this?
So I was a dancer before I was a rapper. Sixth grade,
this makes sense.
Started breakdancing. And so, when I first came to church, like this cat, my boy Mark, shout out to him, he like showed me like, yo, like you can use your talent and your gift to worship the Lord. So it's just like, all right, with this dancing that I've been doing, like, how do I use that as worship? I can rap a little bit. How can I use it as worship? So it's just like, all right, we went to Jerusalem. We was in Israel like late 2016. And we get out the van to go to our hotel, and it was like nighttime, and they just had some dancing going on right in the street and music bumping. So I was like, I'm not going to miss this opportunity. We're in Jerusalem. I'm about to start breakdancing. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a true story.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
And you're obviously, that turned into something really cool that you're able to worship God with. And that makes sense why there's dancing in this video.
Absolutely. It
All right.
makes sense.
Want to move on to the next one?
Let's get it.
We came with the Christ who done given up life for the bread when the blessing tell me goodbye. Ain't beyond point to concise. World only want to entice. Me cut the boy off all the things that me can't keep together. We here for the fighting up. Out to the darkness. Out to the prison. Light up the future.
I'm very happy. I just want to say that I wrote that hook. Yes.
That
you know what
amazing.
I mean? Like, we're in
Yes.
Nashville. There's a lot of songwriters and collaborations that happen, but I just want to let everybody know that's watching. I wrote that whole
That was
hook.
him.
That was me. And I'm not a singer like that.
You should be proud.
So I'm very proud of this.
It sounds
record.
really good.
Thank you.
And then this one is Second City.
Yeah.
So this is also the title of your...
It is the title track for the album coming out January 25th, man. Like, the whole foundation of the album, I wanted to tap back into like my heritage. Like, I'm Jamaican. My pops was Jamaican, and he played one of the biggest roles in my life due to his absence. Growing up without a father is like super, it makes an impact on your life. You know what I mean? Especially a young man, like our first inspiration, our first hero, the first person we want to be like is dad. You know what I mean? And so I didn't have that. But the 9 years that I did have him, like, we had a super great relationship. And so just me being Jamaican, I wanted to bring that heritage into my music because there's nobody doing it. You know what I mean? And so I always want to be original. And so with this title track, it being part 2 of the series, I pictured like, all right, we're in the second city. We're celebrating. There's new hope. There's a place where there's new redemption, where we find identity in our creator, because that's what it took. Like in 2010, I was 18, 19 searching for like, who is Stephen Malcolm? Like, I'm a young man, I'm in college. It's time to grow up. You know what I mean? What is my purpose here on earth? I didn't find that because I didn't really have no direction growing up. I looked to the TV screens and the basketball players and the big bros in the streets, like, for, affirmation and identity, but all of it was just false at the end of the day. When you look in the mirror and you got to ask yourself who you are. You know what I mean? So with the Second City, I just wanted to make a track and a record that's like, what does it sound like to celebrate knowing who you are? Celebrate having hope, celebrate having redemption. You know what I mean? Being in a place where youth can use music to glorify Jesus. So that's what this Second City, title track and the video is all about. Just wanted to make it fun, adventurous. By the way, I was very scared in that beginning scene when I'm on like the wooden, like, I don't know what you call it, but I'm terrified. Yeah, so I'm terrified of sharks. That's my biggest fear. And so we're in South Beach, Miami, where I know that the highest shark attack rate is in South Beach, Miami. I know this. I researched it.
And so you probably shouldn't have known that.
No, listen, I want to be ready. And so the director of the video was like, yeah, just stand on the corner, like on top of the rail. And it was old. Like, it was old. And I'm like, the guy was like, yeah, it survived a few hurricanes, but you're all right. And I watch a lot of movies. So all I'm thinking is like, all right, Final Destination. I'm going to stand on it. It's going to crack. I'm going to be eaten by a shark. So that's why I'm not standing. I'm sitting on it. And that's why I look stiff sitting on it too, because I'm terrified while rapping. So
that makes sense. Because as soon as that clip came up on the screen, you were like, looking at your buddies over there, like, oh,
reminiscing, man. It was fun though. Super fun.
That's funny. Yeah. That's funny. So the Second City is really a place where you know your identity.
Yes.
And that place where you find redemption. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yes. And that's what the whole album's going to be about on the 25th. So that's really exciting.
Absolutely.
All right. We've got one more. So let's dive into it.
I'm on a whole new level, so keep it muy sosiego. Ain't no long top, boy, they know I got that fuego. That fuego, 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 fuego.
Video's so tough.
I know.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting here like I'm trying to think like outside of who I am, and I'm like, if I was to see these 3 videos, what would I think of this artist? I'm just saying, man. Like Homie's killing it, man.
You are. I agree.
Homie's got some dope videos, bro. That's all I keep thinking.
Hey, I like that you know that. Like, I like that you're proud of it. That's great.
Yeesh.
Nope. Okay. I mean, let's start with the video because there's a lot happening there. How did that play into the song at all?
There is a lot happening in the video. So like I said, I'm a big movie guy. Like, I love movies. And when I heard the record, so the record is basically just being on fire for Jesus. Like, I seen a book a long time ago called Contagious, and just the metaphor was like, if you light one match in a pocketbook, all of them ignite. And I feel like that's what it takes. Like, when something starts, like, it took one person who had a vision, loved the Lord, wanted to make positive music. So now you have Way FM. You know what I mean? So it's just like me as a vessel. It's just like, how can I continue to stay on fire? And maybe that'll ignite, millions of other people. So that's the backbone of the record. But the video, when I heard the record, all I seen was like a video of like the movie Desperado, meets like, Bad Boys or something like that, or like Smooth Criminal by Michael Jackson. So it's just like the video, man, just came together. I gave my ideas to the director, Sam Brave, shot it in South Beach, Miami as well. Like the day before we shot The Second City, we shot that. And this scene actually was shot at like 4 a.m. in the morning. I was like super tired.
Wow.
Jacob was in the car asleep. You know what I mean? So it was fun, man. The video is super crazy, and just have like the fire and all that stuff was like super lit.
Yeah, it looked really great.
Thank you.
So this song too, it's kind of, I'm seeing a bit of a theme in some of your songs anyways. There's like some really creative, fun lyrics in there, but then there's also the really hard story ones too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
can you talk about even why you do that? Like, and how you're expressing yourself through the song like that?
Because I'm a firm believer in like, I want to learn something. Like, what is your song teaching me, or how can I grow from listening to a record? What can I take away from it? So me as an MC, I'm not the type of artist, like, granted, I do love vibes. Like, I can kick vibes all day, but I want to say something in my records. You know what I mean? And like, I've gotten to a point in my career where I want to start telling my story, because it's my story that people can relate to. You know what I mean? And so just want to inspire people by that. And just, I'm always going to continue to just pump lyrics, whether it's, something that's super clever, metaphoric, or a fast flow that's super unique when you hear it. But when you really like listen to the lyrics, you'll know my heart. And that's the beauty of like me coming from a genuine hip hop culture, where it's just like, I believe, because a lot of people are like, man, your music sounds so mainstream. It's got a mainstream appeal. But if you really listen to the words, like then it's like Christian. It's like, well, the sound, like that's the sound that I come from. The culture I come from is hip hop. I'm absorbed in it. That's the music that I create, but my identity is in Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, who I am as a man is a man of God. So the lyrics that you're going to get is, who I am, what God is doing in my life, and how I want to glorify Jesus in all I do. So that's how we keep it rocking. You feel me?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Yeah.
So with The Second City, what are you hoping that people are going to take away from it when they listen?
Yeah. Just my story, and just to be inspired and impacted to really live out your passion, live out your dream, and find your identity in the Lord, because that's your creator. You know what I mean? Just the story of a young man who grew up fatherless but found his identity in Jesus and is living his dream, living his passion, and living with purpose. I want people to live with purpose when they hear this. So
yeah, there's power in sharing your story. And I was trying not to say this like on every single song, but I probably did. I just commend you for sharing it. I really do, because we need people to, first of all, just share their stories, show what God's done. Yeah. And also, like, when you do have a difficult story, like you said, there are other guys out there who need to hear that, because they're going through that kind of thing too. And we need to celebrate the fact that you found redemption, and that now you're stepping up and doing something incredible.
Yeah,
with
and that's the beauty of like being an artist, is like people look at us, or particularly the fans look at us as like we are the ones who are courageous enough to tell our story out loud to the world, to tell our brokenness and our imperfections to the world. So it's like, I'm learning the more vulnerable I get, the more my fans personally can relate to my music. So it's hard, but it's just what the Lord's got me doing, so I'm gonna do it.
Old pirates, yes, they rob by.
Okay, this song is really cool.
Thank you.
I like it. And it's very different from the other ones, especially the ones that we talked about. But it's also, all your songs are powerful, but I feel like this one kind of brings them full circle a little bit, because it's talking about, like you say, like these songs are freedom.
Yes.
And like I love the line, like made strong by the hand of the Almighty.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge part of your story. And when people know your story about, like, you know, not growing up with a dad and growing up in hard times and your journey, like that's really powerful. So I'm going to stop talking. I want to hear about why you wrote this song.
No doubt. Well, first, I didn't write it.
Okay.
It was written by one of the greatest legends to ever live, one of the greatest musicians to ever live. His name is Bob Marley. It was written by him.
Is it really?
Yes, that's a Bob Marley cover.
That. Yep. Can we start over? I'm so dumb.
One of the greatest musicians ever.
I literally thought you wrote it. I just listened to it last night. I was like, I researched his songs. I know some of these lyrics. Anyway. Again, I love this song. I think it sounds great. So, and it was originally written by Bob Marley. We know that now.
Yeah.
So how does Bob Marley tie into your personal story?
Yeah. Well, not only being like, because my two biggest musical inspirations is Michael Jackson and Bob Marley. Michael Jackson for the great entertainer that he is and the great dance moves that he's left us.
Yes.
But also Bob with what Bob stood for. And even going back to Jamaica and seeing how people live and what the community is like and the poverty that's there literally gave me such insight of the foundation of why Bob wrote what he wrote and what kind of music he made. It's very empowering, very uplifting, but it's about peace and about unity. Like that's what Bob stood for, is bringing the people of Jamaica together, like empowering the people on this island. Like he gave himself to the people. So someone who lived their life selfless and glorified peace, unity, and an entity bigger than himself, which was God, to make this the last song on the record, it just literally bring everything full circle. And like literally Bob Marley wrote that years ago. And how relevant is every single line in that song to today? And
it is. That's the crazy part.
And so background on it, like one, it's like the most covered song ever. But Bob actually wrote that while he was dying of cancer. And so if you can literally take each line and like think like, yo, this man knows he's about to die of cancer. And so a lot of it he recited from Marcus Garvey, which he was an activist from Jamaica. And it's really talking about a lot of stuff. And it's crazy because I seen a movie the other day called the Hate You Give. You heard about it?
Yes.
And it's about just police, like just the injustice and police brutality. And literally the movie had me in tears, had my wife in tears, just crying, just thinking like, yo, this movie is based on back in the day, but it has so much relevance to today, just the injustice, just the racism that still exists in America, and just the triumph that is at hand when it comes to who is at hand, you know what I mean? And just the story of, at the end of the day, through all the brokenness, through all the death that we face, through the crazy brokenness of racism in America, that there is hope, that there is redemption, even in a young man who grew up fatherless, who was looking for purpose. He found it. There is redemption at hand. You know what I mean? And so this song is the video too, that we shot a music video in Montego Bay, Jamaica, where my dad was from, where my family is. And I got to visit my dad's gravestone for the first time. And so, yeah, this song is just one of those songs where this is the, like, you know, the victory lap, you know what I mean, for the album. And it's just like, yo, like, we have victory already. You know, we are crafted by the hand of the Almighty, the same God who created the planets and the stars and the mountains that we see, crafted you, you know what I mean? So you have power. And that's really what it's about, man. Just knowing that you have power, that there's hope, that there's redemption at the end of the day. So that's why this is at the end of the album, and it's so powerful. So, yeah.
It's the perfect tie-up. And you could have wrote it. It's basically about your story.
Songs of freedom, redemption songs, redemption redemption song.